Okay, so this project we're just going to be I'm going to be working on our room here. This is a room we neglected in this house for about 20 years. This room's probably from the 70s. The house is over 100 years old, but was probably redone, I would say, in the 70s, possibly 80s. Um, so we're going to just start demoing part of this room now. Right now, obviously, I don't have nothing covered, so I'm just going to be pulling these little corner pieces off. Um, these are like vinyl, so you just kind of just pull these off if you really want. But I'm just kind of trying to be as neat as possible here before we start pulling everything out of the room that I can and covering up what I don't care about. Some of the stuff I don't care about that we're going to be in here. Some of these dressers, they're like really old and falling apart. I'm going to be, and I built furniture, so I'm going to probably build new ones before we go. Um, but I'll play that by ear. So right now I had a corner piece here. I just pulled off. I'm going to pull some of these corner inside bracket pieces off and some of this trim off around the door and the windows. But the panel we're going to pull off later after we cover everything up. And we're going to start pulling that off as we start putting the new panel up that we're going to be using. All right, so let's start doing the demo now. Partially. So one of the difficult parts about this type of project and this type of house is they whoever remodeled this, I mean they did a half decent job. I'm not saying that what I'm going to do is going to be perfect. I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not a contractor, and I'm sure it was DIY. The other person did this, but they used nails. They didn't use brad nails, obviously and they did even the trim. So the trim's put in with 3 to 4 inch long like construction type screws, so our nails, not screws. So sometimes some of this trim was breaking as you were pulling these nails out. So you know, I had at least one comment saying, "Hey, just rip this stuff out with your hands." Well, they were nailed in pretty good, and I was trying to preserve some of the stuff, not the trim pieces, but some of the molding and shoe molding, which is pretty expensive. That could be $3 to $4 a board foot. So I mean, that could get up to the hundreds of dollars to replace that. If I could preserve some of it, this I don't care about. I'm just trying to remove the nails for, if I'm going to burn this wood or throw it in the trash. I try always remove your nails if you can. Don't be that guy. Somebody's going to get cut, banged up. So I try to remove nails when I do projects like this. I know it takes time and it's a pain in the butt, but you should do that. Just have courtesy. So this room is the last room that we really had to hit in this house. We, like I said, neglected this room. We did everything in this house from the bathrooms to the kids' bedrooms, the stairwell, the living room, front porch, etc. We just really neglected our room. So this was a long time coming. So we're gonna just, like I said, I'm gonna just do as best I can here, try to get this at least presentable. And the idea is we're probably going to be selling this house in a couple of years, or maybe passing down to one of my kids, depending on if they want to stay in the area. Either way, so right now I'm just going to get back to the job at hand here. So I'm just removing all the window trim. So I'm going to do one panel at a time, essentially here. So that way I could cut down on the mess, because this is a mess behind here. So some of this plaster walls, like I said, but some of this plaster you can see the lath in. So, and there's the panel I'm going to replace in the old panel with. And we're going to use the track saw to cut all this up. But so anyway, so we're going to remove one panel at a time, or two at a time. That way I can just trying to keep the mess down, because the wood lathing and the rocks, kind of falling apart behind the plaster. So we're trying to keep us, try to limit some of the mess. And it was a huge mess. I mean, probably went through 2 shop vacs, fill ups just on one or two of these panels. When you pull them off. So now we're going to be setting up our cuts. So we're going to be using the track saw for this. You could use a table saw, but I have a smaller job site saw. Even though I have it's on a built-in bench, I decided to use a track saw. I think it's a little more accurate, and especially you have to get a straight edge anyway on one side. So we're just going to start measuring this out for our first cut, and we also have to keep in mind we're going to have to cut a hole in this, or a square slot in this for the air conditioning. So we had to kind of get the exact measurements. So we're going to get our width and our height right now, and then we're going to start cutting out for air conditioning. We're going to just using, like I said, the track saw to cut this down, and then we'll use a drill and a jigsaw to cut our slots out for whether it be our outlets, you know, or air conditioning or any other notching. So we're also in this project, we're going to be replacing all the window trim. We're going to be putting all new trim in, and even the windowsills are going to put in. We're just going to custom make all that as we go, and we're going to paint that. So right now the idea is to get the paneling up in this first part, and then we'll go over like all the inside corner brackets and pieces, and inside corner pieces. We'll do that after we paint. So we're going to paint this panel, and eventually it's primer now. We're going to paint it a white, but we're not sure. My wife's going to pick what kind of white she wants to use. So like I said, we're just going to start cutting this down, get this all set up. We're going to do one panel at a time, try to cut down on the mess. So I'm going to be carrying this up and down steps all day. So I'm going to get my steps in if nothing else. And it's pretty hot today. So we're going to do as best we can. I'm sure we're going to make some mistakes. I'm sure if you're a professional contractor, they're probably going to be laughing at some of the stuff I'm going to be doing. But we're going to try to do the best we can. Hopefully, and like I said, this project's not done, so I'm putting a video out before I even finish this. Part of it's finished, but I still have a lot of work to do. So this could be a total disaster, and I might have to go and pay a professional contractor to fix my mistakes. We're going to find out. So you're going to go for the ride with me if you decide to watch. All right, so let's go. Let's start cutting this up and start installing some of this paneling. So here we're going to start notching out or cutting out our slot here for the AC unit. We're also going to be re-trimming that too after the fact. So I guess you probably noticed we're going to be using this. It's called like a faux shiplap, but it's a thicker material. Drywall would have been a lot easier, honestly, because I kind of went right over the plaster since the drywall is so thin. It would have been a little easier, probably a little cheaper. A little more work from the sanding and taping and mudding standpoint, but we're going to be using this shiplap, and we're not going to be going horizontal. We're going to be going vertical with it. So that's how my wife wanted it. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully it comes out nice. So it's not going to look like a shiplap. It's going to look more like just vertical paneling. We wanted to go with the thicker paneling because we think it's a little more sturdy, and also for painting it's going to probably be a little nicer, and it will look more like I said, a vertical shiplap, and that's the idea. And we're also going to be doing the ceiling in this project too, and I think we're going to be using a faux shiplap for that also, but we're going to be using a 1/4-inch paneling, and we're just going to be cutting it down and doing a faux shiplap. I think we're still deciding if we want to do that because it's a plaster ceiling. It's kind of falling apart, and I don't know if I want to rip that down to redo that. So that's some of the things we're trying to discuss and decide now. I think we're going to go with that route, but we're going to say, so here we're just going to be, like I said, cutting out our AC slot. We're also, with the ceiling, we're going to be replacing the light fixture too. We're going to be putting a ceiling fan in, hopefully. So we're going to do a lot of little things for this project, replacing all the outlets and everything. There were, if you noticed in some of the shots earlier, there was some coax cable, some landline cable. We're removing a lot of that, and probably just put a new box in for that too, if need be. Just put new outlets in for them also. We don't really need them anymore. We don't have cable, but we at least like to keep the coax available. for whoever moves in the house after. And also having a landline is probably not a bad idea. So here we're just going to be trying to get our studs here. This isn't really necessary for this, since this panel it goes right into this lathing behind the plaster. So we have a lot of wood, but it's just practice I like to do, just to find, if I can find the stud, it just makes it a little easier for me to just kind of to know where I'm going to be putting our brads in when we start nailing this in. And so for when we're nailing this in, we're going to be using 18 and 16 gauge brad nailers. We're going to be using 2-inch and 1.5 inch brad nailers. So the 16 will be 2 inches. That's going to be hopefully holding the bulk of this up, and then we're going to be using the 16 in the slots in each groove of the panel, just so because the 16 could go right through. So the 18 is a little thinner diameter, so it will hopefully hold better in the little slots without going completely through the little grooves in the panel in here. So hopefully it will make sense as we start doing this. But yeah, we're just going to be mounting this as best possible, getting it straight. The house is not straight at all. I'm seeing like almost a variation of, almost a ½ inch at certain spots here between the walls and the ceilings, how level it's not. So we're trying to get it as best as possible. We're going to try to scribe if we need to, and we're just going to trim this all out as best as possible around the windows, air conditioners, and everything else. So this is what we're doing now. We're just going to start putting this panel in one piece at a time, trimming it all out, and hopefully it comes in and looks good when we're done. All right, let's go. Okay, you can see here on the bottom of the panel here, these little 2x4 cutoffs. These are going to be like my little braces here. These were very, very helpful for me. These were like a second set of hands for me, because I did all this work pretty much by myself. So it was definitely helpful to have them. As you saw, I also started putting that outlet cover back on. That's just temporary. We're just going to be putting that back on for now, just for safety standpoint. We're going to be replacing, putting all new outlet covers in after we're done painting the walls. Like I said, we're just going to start cutting everything out. We're going to be notching out these outlet covers, and that's some of the trickiest part with this part of the project is having your cuts straight around your outlets and your air conditioners and notches and things like that. You just got to have everything as close as possible. And if you're off, like I said, like 1/8 of an inch or something like that, it's not the end of the world, since the house isn't level, nothing, and the trim's going to cover a lot of it up as you put new trim up. So the trim will hopefully cover up any imperfections, and that's the idea of it. And trim work is very hard. Finished carpentry, to me, is like like an art, and it's not. I'm not the best at it, so I'm going to try my best here. This is going to be the hardest part of the project for me, probably, is when I start trimming this all out, putting all new molding up. And I'm going to try to reuse some of it, but I'm going to be, like I said, rebuilding, painting, cutting, and shaping all of the windowsills and the window frames. I'm going to be doing it all, just fresh. So that's where we're at. So we're just going to start brad nailing these in. I'm not going to go crazy with it now because I'm going to have to fill these holes in later before we paint. But I just want to get it up, make sure it looks good in case I have to maneuver stuff around or pull panel back out. We're just going to kind of put like 4 or 5 brad nails in each panel right now just to hold it up. So that way, when I inspect it later, I can say, oh yeah, I need to move this over a little bit. It's going to be easier to pull out and adjust. So that's what we're doing here. We're just going to, like I said, trimming this all out, and this part of the project is pretty much done. I'm sure there's going to be some questions or concerns, criticisms, ideas. I'm all open. I'm not a professional. This is definitely DIY. I have some experience doing this kind of stuff, just working in people's houses on built-ins and things, but this is definitely a challenge for me, and it's fun, but it's also saving me money. This would have been probably a $1,000 or more type job if I was quoting this out. So that's where we're at. We're going to, like I said, clean this up, put these in, and that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching. We're going to put a corner cap piece here. Also the inside corners. Going to be doing the ceiling. The ceiling's not falling apart, but it's cracking. So we're just going to put some faux shiplap, I think, over this. It's definitely going to save us some money. And this wall's pretty much done so far. And we're going to, like I said, be painting all this. Putting all new outlet covers in. And we're going to be putting a ceiling fan up here, replacing this light. And we're repainting the other wall. Leaving the plaster up and just painting it. Almost like another accent type wall. Alright. That's pretty much it.